I'm 16, forced into birth control, haven't had a checkup in 4 years, and my dad still feeds me fast food, even though my kidney doctor told him not to. What are my legal rights? I was born small, a pound and a handful of ounces. Like life wasn't sure if it wanted me here. The nurses told my grandma later that I was a fighter, but no one tells you what happens when the fight never really stops. When I was a baby, the machines breathed for me. When I grew older, it was pills and doctor visits. Always something attached to keep me going. I don't remember my mother, but people say she was gentle. They also say her heart just stopped. 2 months after I came into the world, she left it. Sometimes when I can't sleep, I wonder if her heart gave out because it was tired of fighting too. My grandma raised me after that. Her kitchen smelled like real food. Soups, rice, herbs, things she said would keep the bad pressure down. She didn't have much, but she had care. She'd check my blood pressure every Sunday morning, and when the numbers were good, she'd smile like I just graduated from something. When she died, everything in me hollowed out. I was 12, old enough to understand what death meant, but too young to understand what it does to the people who are left. My dad took over after that, though took over might not be the right phrase. It's like someone hit pause on the part of him that was supposed to know how to be a parent. He didn't cook, didn't clean much. The fridge slowly turned into a science experiment. Leftovers that grew fuzz, bottles of soda stacked beside my blood pressure meds. Dinner turned into paper bags, greasy, salty, heavy. Fast food every night, the kind that tasted good for 5 minutes and made me feel sick for hours. My kidney doctor told him to stop, said it was undoing everything my medication was trying to fix. Dad nodded each time, promised he'd start cooking soon, but soon became years. Most nights, my brother would scroll through DoorDash, tapping his favorites, McDonald's, Chick-fil-A. If I said I wanted something healthier, he'd roll his eyes. Then we're not ordering anything, he'd say. And my stomach would twist, not just from hunger, but from knowing that arguing meant not eating at all. That's how control works in my family. Silent, invisible, and always in someone else's hands. The house never smelled like food anymore, just oil, grease, and mold. I'd stand in front of the fridge sometimes, staring at the expired containers, trying to convince myself to go buy something healthy. But I couldn't, because no one else did. And if I brought home fruit or salad, they'd laugh. You think you're better than us? I was 16 and already tired of pretending that normal meant surviving. I hadn't had a real checkup since my grandma died. No dentist, no wellness exams, only my nephrologist, the one doctor who still remembered me from when I was little. Even he noticed how I changed. You look pale, he'd said once. Are you eating enough? I lied. Of course I did. Then came my aunt. She's the kind of woman who talks like she's saving you but never listens. One day she said, "You're 16 now. You need to see a gynecologist." I didn't question it. I didn't question much by then. I just went where I was told. When the doctor asked me why I was there, I said, "I don't know." It was true. My dad never explained. My aunt never explained. The doctor blinked like she didn't know what to do with that answer. Then she and my aunt started talking about me, not to me. They mentioned birth control. I remember feeling confused. I told them I didn't need it, that I wasn't having sex. They smiled that condescending adult smile, the kind that says you don't know what's good for you. They decided on something called Nexplanon. I didn't even know what that was. When my aunt asked why I didn't want it, I said, "Because I don't do stuff like that." She said, "Just because you're not active now doesn't mean you won't be later." That should have been the end of it, but it wasn't. A few months later, she told me, "Your dad made the appointment." I remember that sentence because it didn't sound real. Your dad made the appointment, like it was something to be proud of, like he was finally stepping up, except it was for the one thing I didn't want. The day he picked me up from school, he said nothing. Just told me we had a doctor's appointment. I asked if it was nephrology. He ignored me. The car ride was silent except for the hum of the AC. My hands were sweating. My chest felt tight. Something about the way he wouldn't meet my eyes told me this wasn't just another appointment. When we got there, I saw the same doctor from before. My aunt was waiting. My stomach dropped. That's when I knew. I asked what was happening, but no one answered. The nurse led me into a room that smelled like antiseptic and latex. I started shaking. The doctor looked annoyed. "Why are you nervous?" she asked. I said, "Because I don't want this." She sighed like I was being difficult. She called my dad on speakerphone. "She's refusing the procedure," she said. There was a pause, and then his voice, cold and flat. "She doesn't have a choice." The words echoed in my head like a slap. That's when I started crying, and no one stopped. The full story is on my channel.